Hello, welcome. This is, oh, you know what? I was going to say, I almost introduced my other show, but this is not a politics show. This is even worse than that. No, I'm just kidding. This is Trailer Geeks and Teaser Gods. I'm your host, Corey Nathan. This is where we get to speak with the brilliant and creative people who make the greatest coming attractions, movie posters, and digital campaigns of all time, and also the people who bring the greatest awards shows of all time to you. And today I am so pleased to be joined by the executive producer and co-founder of the Golden Trailer Awards, Monica Brady. Monica, how are you, my love? Are you
I'm
holding up okay? Are you doing all right?
doing great, doing great. We're in the home stretch here. So yeah, it's late nights, early
Yeah.
mornings. So
Yeah, as we play this, it's like a week, barely more than a week away. So, man, I don't know how you do it. It must be quite a whirlwind. Um, you know, it
is it?
it's it's been a couple years since you and Evie have been on the show. So I thought and we have a lot of new listeners. It's really exciting. Um, but I wanted to have folks. You have such an interesting background. You studied in Oxford. You went to NYU. Um, what prompted you to, with that such an interesting background, what prompted you and Evelyn to start the Golden Trailer Awards in the first place?
Well, we were coming out of NYU, and we went to make a feature film, right? As you think you do, graduating from college, and we had enough money together to what we thought was to make a trailer, and it turns out it was, 1999, so it's pre-broadband, pre-Google, pre all these things. So we went looking for how to find people who edited trailers together. We couldn't find them. So my sister's like, "Well, let's see if there's an award show out there for them. That's how we'll find the best editor because, coming out of school, you deserve the best editor, right?" We just didn't know. We were kids.
Yeah.
And then we went looking for an award show to have like a listing of whom we could contact, and there wasn't any. So my sister said, "Well, let's do the award show for trailers, and that's how we'll find, who makes the best trailers." And I was like, it's like the weirdest circuitous route to doing the show, but it's how it happened. We were on a boat on the way to Fort Sumter in Charleston, South Carolina, and that's where it was born right there.
That's so
Oh, my
funny.
favorite line of my sister's was, "We'll send out some applications and the rest will run on autopilot." And 26 years later, you're looking at the autopilots, it's
Yeah, that's
no
great.
autopilot. Yeah, no, we love it. So, we did the first show way back in 1999 at the Directors Guild of America in New York. It was a lot of fun. A lot of times it panics editors to death. We ran that show off of 2 Avids machines running side by side, and most editors, like, they get this look of death upon them. They're like, it was a miracle that it didn't shut down. I mean, it's 1999. It wasn't that great
Yeah.
technology, but the show was great. We had a lot of fun, and a lot of people came out that first year from Los Angeles, and the New York crews were there, and what really put us on the map that first year was Quentin Tarantino came on board as a
Mm.
judge in that first year, and that got us on the BBC, that got us on different things that got the name out there. So we were really grateful for that.
So thinking back to 99, because that's right about when my career started. And one of the reasons that there was that folks wanted to, use my services in the first place was because the information was so hard to get. So the closest you could dig, I think it was still the Key Arts at the time that did the show, but the closest thing you could get is maybe get the prior year's catalog with a listing of companies, and some of the companies listed the names of editors and producers and stuff. But that was like,
Yeah.
you had to really work to do that. The only other thing that I remember there being was, remember the LA 411? Did you guys use that
I
book?
was just about to say that. Oh my gosh. It
But
was it but by
the
the
only companies that were listing there were actually Seiniger, who and Tony just passed away as we record this about a day ago.
oh gosh.
And I think what was the other one? Anfarm might have been listed in there, but there were a lot of companies that weren't like Cimarron
Right.
wasn't listed, Kaleidoscope, like Aspect
Yeah.
wasn't listed in there. So
But
my question
think
is,
about think about that printing though. Those books were like this thick,
thick,
and like
yeah, they
that
were major
printing would
thick.
have had to have taken place like months in advance for that thing to get out there with the
Yeah,
so
yeah,
anyhow,
yeah.
I'm sure the information was out of date before it even got to us. So
Yeah, exactly.
sorry,
So
your question.
my
Yeah.
question, sorry. So how did you how was And, the other thing too is to this day when I ask people, "Hey, how did you get into the industry? How did you find your first gig?" They're like, "Oh, I went to the Golden Trailer thing, and I went in the back, and I contacted Adam, and I contacted all the people that are listed in the directory, right?"
That's
But
so
you guys
wonderful.
made the directory. How did you
Yes.
find the trailer
It's
companies and get the word out for that very first one?
it was, very guerrilla marketing. So we're back in 1999, so I think we decided, like, around in May to have the show, and it was in September. But, like, we printed flyers and we put them up. We were in Cannes. We went to the Cannes Film Festival and went to, like,
Oh,
the American Pavilion and put things down, and one of them said on the one side, it's stuck, and the other side said "Trailers rule." And we put that down. We put those out on tables and stuff like that. People picked them up, and I remember some lady from LA got mad at me. She's like, "Films do not suck," and I was like, "No, it okay, never." It lost on her, and so we got scolded, but it was real, back in the day, guerrilla marketing. So, word got out. We did have a mailing list, like a physical mailing list, and we had to mail a paper application. So, like, as far as we've come, and we've been like a great test for a lot of, like, online entry systems, but, like, we were a paper uh, application that they would send in with a VHS tape. I mean, that, and then we would have to compile them onto one big long tape and then send that out to the jury around the world. The largest FedEx bill I've ever seen in my life. I'm like, what? But they were physical tapes at that time, but it was paper. Word just spread, and actually beyond what we did, mailing these applications out to people that were in, like, those directories and filmmakers and stuff like that, and then our guerrilla marketing stuff in at film festivals. I don't know. It was kinda like one of those mysterious things. How did they how did they find out about us? But I remember when, it was Geronimo. Geronimo sent in a box of tapes, and we opened up the box with all their applications, and we were like, "Oh gosh, this is a show. This is a this is a
yeah.
it's the Matrix year." And that when we saw that, we were just like, "Wow." It was on. So,
Oh,
yeah.
that's awesome. Yeah, and Geronimo was, and still in a lot of ways had such respect from all of their competitors.
Yeah.
They were even at that time, most of the companies were in LA, and yet they
Correct.
looked at Geronimo. Geronimo was so good they could afford to stay in New York. That's how good they were. And Matrix was just a year that brought them to a whole other level.
Yeah.
So I'd imagine that other shops found out about it and started coming on board. But you also had all these other moving parts. You mentioned Quentin Tarantino. How did you how did you put together every year you have such an impressive jury. How do you get how do you reach those folks and assemble those folks and get like the Quentin Tarantino's of the world to commit to the work that it takes to go through
Yeah.
now 120 or so categories?
116, just had to
Wow.
count it for the press release. And, well, we contact their agents now, but back in the older days, it was more like, yeah, there was their agent, but you could also approach the people. So, I think my sister had approached him at a party. He loves trailers. But the other funny thing is, so we did go through the proper channels, and his people called us back and they said, "We just want you to know that this letter is sitting on the top of a, foot and a half, a foot and a half long stack of letters asking him to do the same thing. So we're just going to let you know that no, he's not gonna do it." And then there was a frantic phone call an hour later, and they're like, "No, no, Quinn's doing it." So it was like, you do the proper channels, and you do the meeting the people out and asking them in person type of thing. Now we do it a lot through the agents and the managers. It's usually the managers, because I think I always get their roles in life confused. One of them's always about what's in it money-wise and what's in it for the prestige-wise. But, yeah, no, it's people, it's, people who are in the industry in a way, but not in the industry like that. It's they're looking at the stuff that they themselves cut. So it's like they're, directors, producers, music people, actors, that kind of stuff. And, we just go for, you know, who's interested in trailers, who loves trailers. Like, I've always wanted, Cillian Murphy. He loves trailers. He said he years ago, he said he would do it the next year. It has not come true. So my And this year he's nominated, so I'm glad he's not judging this year. It would look weird.
Oh
But yeah,
yeah.
the
That
immortal man. Yeah.
that's awesome. And what is that process like? So is it just a matter of splitting up the categories for
Ne-
different kind of jury pools?
so now it's now there's so much because in the beginning there were 22 categories. So now there's so much it divides into 5, and you can see them in the, on the when you're applying, there's 5, like, tracks, I like to call them. There's feature film trailers, there's foreign trailers, there's digital, there's, TV spots and posters. So there's tracks, and then, they go into the tracks, and then there's a jury of your peers on each of the tracks, and it all takes place electronically, so you don't have to have a player. You can do it on your phone. We prefer people do it on the largest screen they have, but in order to accommodate schedules and stuff like that, they can judge from anywhere in the world. So we were, even before, like, the big guys, even before Sundance, even before South by Southwest, we uh, had the ability for people to upload stuff online. And just because of that process, we had to. So it's neat being on the forefront of a technology like that. And what was also so brilliant about trailer awards is that trailers are so short. So it wasn't like uploading a full feature length film and having people look at that around the world. So we really benefit from that, the medium, and that people wanted to make this technology for to accommodate, like, a jury panel like that we have.
And is it all quantitative? Like it's ranking, this is my number one, this is my number two, this is my number three, or is there any qualitative as well, like discussion among jury?
No, no discussion among jury. They do have to judge everything in the category. So everything's set in. So some of those categories get very large. Um, and they can rank it out a couple decimal points, but everything gets a ranking. Everything gets a look, everything gets a ranking, down the whole adjudication pool for each track. So it's
Hmm.
intense. It's
Yeah.
not because, like, a lot of times, like, the festivals, because if you look at, like, a South by Southwest, it's like they get 10,000 feature films. I was like, how do you watch 10,000 feature films? Because
Yeah.
to me, as a creator, I want to make sure that there were eyes on, and then they're like, "If it's over in the if you don't catch us in the first 10 minutes," I was like, "Please don't tell me that. My movie starts so slow." But, yeah, so you have to view everything in its section, so best action. You have to view everything in that section, and or you can excuse yourself from it, if and then there's a button for you to, if you feel like I'm partial to this because I worked on it or something like that. You
Right,
can
right, right.
excuse yourself, which I think is a nice feature. And it doesn't affect, it's now, like, so say there were 12 people in the jury pool, then it goes amongst, it doesn't account that as a zero, it counts it as, they just excuse themselves from that jury.
And I keep on going back to 99 when you were starting this thing. Like, how did you even have the knowledge to develop that process? I'm sure it's evolved over the years, but like,
Oh, yeah,
oh, it'll figure itself out. Like they'll figure it out, you know?
so so now looking at, like, where we're at right now, and that the show is so close, but we get, our deadline gets pushed a lot because people are like, "I'm finishing something up," and so, we love accommodating everybody because everybody's so brilliant and the work's so great, and so, and everybody in the industry kinda laughs because 'cause they're like, "Oh, yeah, there's gonna be an extension." But back then, there could be no extensions because, A, it was impossible to communicate that because it's, like, really blasting people with things. It's pre-Facebook, it's pre all of this. So back then we had such a longer lead time because it was, as I said, the VHS tapes with the piece of paper. Then we did graduate to DVDs, and then we graduated finally to online. But back then there was no, our prep time was so much further out because then we had to get the HD tapes in so that we could cut the show so it would look pretty up on the screen. So the technology has truncated that timeline, but, like, now I'm, like, a little nervous, like, 2 weeks out, I'm, like, just getting the credits back in on Friday, but, so, sorry, your original question is, and so then the paper ballots would go to an accounting firm, back then. So it was back 1999, there were the Big 8, then it went down to the Big 6, then
Yeah.
it was one of those guys that I can't remember who. I have to go look it up. So then the papers had to go to them or they could fax them. I remember David Geffen, faxing his in one year, and then the accounting firm calling us and saying they didn't get it, and so then you have to call David Geffen's office to say they didn't get it. Could you refax it? And you're just like, Oh, I really don't want to make that phone call, but it was so wonderful.
Oh,
Is
yeah,
he did.
let me get David on the phone right now.
But he did it. It was so
Oh,
cute. And he was like, refaxed it. And you're like, I know that technology sounds so old, like, but fax machines were the big thing, way back in the day. They cost thousands of dollars. And now you can just pick them up at the old Goodwill when you need a prop. So just,
can you believe I had somebody, I forgot what I was working on, it had to have been a mortgage or something like that, but they were like they asked me to fax over, and I'm like, "Wait, you lost me, like, let me call 1992 and get my fax, like, 1992,
oh.
and by the way, my mullet is calling too." Like, what are we talking about? Fax over.
No, but
Um,
what's so funny is, like, we were, shooting a TV series in New York, and we were trying to book the 59th Street Bridge, which is a difficult bridge to book for filming, and, shout out to John Wick 3, I think they did it too, but, we had to fax the NYPD, and you're like, "How am I mean, on location, where am I gonna find this fax machine?" But that I was like, then you get scared. You're like, "Well, this is so antiquated. Are officers really gonna show up tomorrow when we're on the bridge? Like, who's getting this message?" So anyhow, I think it, um, secures something. Like, it's real when it's faxed to them because they still do it. Yeah,
That's
the
that's
NYPD.
crazy. All right, so we dove right into the GTAs, but there's you, like, you're a person. Like, a lot of people, they just see the Golden Trailer Awards, and maybe they see the famous names, Monica and Evelyn Brady, but,
Oh
like,
gosh,
you're an
no.
actual person. So, you have this whole other life outside of the trailer world: film producer, commercial producer, event producer, tech wizard. So tell
Oh,
us a little bit about you.
God, we like to stay behind the scenes as much as possible. We don't put ourselves out there. Uh, just love the industry. I mean, that's what I went to NYU for, was to make films. I did make one film. I'm not saying the title because all the brilliant people that all right, in our word, it was a low budget independent horror film. So I shot it because the reason I got into this business was to make films. Many years had gone by. So we started the award show because we were making a film. So I was like, I need to do this because I said I was going to do this to myself many years ago. So I did end up doing that. So mission accomplished. But I have many more films to shoot. Um, but yeah, just regular people out there in the world that love to celebrate trailers. So
Yeah.
I
And it
still find that most people do out there.
yeah, for
Very
sure.
rarely run into somebody that's like, I don't like trailers. But and got into tech, very into Web3, which is a whole other world. We were just at a conference last week in Consensus in Miami. So we have an app that we're combining, Web3 and the future of distribution.
So,
So
what's Web3? I'm not in the loop on this.
Web3 is like your crypto, Web2 is what we're dealing with now and streaming and all that kind of stuff. But Web3 is like, yeah, I don't want to scare your audience because I've had the ability to sit with this for like a week. But so Web3 is the crypto. It thinks I'm raising my hand.
It's okay.
The crypto rails and the new financial the way that finance will run in the future, and what we're gearing up towards the future, and all like AI and all that kind of stuff is considered Web3. And we were just at a conference, and so very much outsiders because Ev and I don't look like tech bros, but we like to go to these conferences and learn about what the future that's coming next. And the stuff that was said down in Miami, I was literally in the audience with my jaw agape. I was like, and looking around, like, did he just say what I thought he just said? And so, very into like the different currencies that are coming, and just making the world more. Uh, uh, Taking the guardrails off of the way things are. So, like, if you were trying to send money overseas and you have to go through the SWIFT system, where it takes like 3 to 5 days, and you're like, well, why does it take 3 to 5 days? It's instantaneous in the banks, but they're playing around with the money or whatever, and then it costs you $40. But with the new financial system, that it won't take that long at all. And even like it's hard; they can't really ACH money to America because of the bank accounts don't really talk, but so when we were at this conference last week, this is going to blow your mind. If you're not into Web3, because maybe you already heard it, but I was sitting there in the audience, and the guy was talking about, in the future, and these are banking guys too, so in the near future, it's not that far away. He's like, the agentic AI. So your agents, like your ChatGPT, your Grok, your Gemini, your those agents. So it's called an agentic AI. They will be outspending humans by the end of 2027. And I am like, what are the robots spending money on? I was just
Yeah,
like
like
sitting there
they're going to the grocery
dumbfounded.
store. What are we spending? Like,
Totally. So I'm sitting there, I'm like looking around, and all the tech bros are like nodding along. And I'm like, what, what boat did I miss? And so they're like, oh, yeah, they do everything for us now. Their agents do. So they asked ChatGPT to order lunch, or, I need a new pair of socks, something like that. And they're like all laughing along, like, I'm like, I'm not having it do that kind of stuff. It sounded like crazy talk. As a matter of fact, my brother did say, he's like, this is crazy talk. And I would have thought it was crazy talk if it wasn't Google and AWS up there giving the crazy talk. I was like, they're planning for it. So they're saying that human spending is going to go down to this. And then there's this layer that's just all agentic AI spending money. Then it dwarfs the humans by a lot. And I was like, so then I was trying to sit there and think about that. I was like, what does that mean? What are they buying? What are they buying for? I mean, there's only so many chores it can do. And then they would make the joke, they're like, oh, you don't want to show up to your house and have 10,000 tubes of toothpaste because you ran out. The agent goes crazy with your credit card. And then one of the dev guys was like, yeah, it did drain my credit card. And I was like, this is not, we've all seen this movie, and it doesn't end well for the humans.
humans,
And
yeah.
yeah, but no, it was actually quite frightening. So I think what they were saying was that this Web3 crypto world is built for agentic AI, which
Mm.
will be buying things for us. So, which was in taking it into like the world of advertising, which trailers are advertising, is that the agents will start trying to talk to each other. So to get to the human who wants to purchase. So say a movie ticket. So say it knows on my calendar I have Friday night at 7 o'clock free. It it can pro offer up, go to the AMC and buy a ticket. And by the way, here's the trailer for you to watch. So what the weird thing is, that sounds very dev like, but it's like the advertising will be geared towards the agent to get to the human, but not to the human. And you're like, it's a weird world. Yeah, but that was the learning from last week, and it's not scary except that in the audience. But I've had to sit with it a week. 'Cause in the audience, I was like, is everybody else hearing this? Because it sounds frightening. But but it's also they took look at it as a freeing type of thing. The developers. So when I'm saying dev, I'm talking about developers and the money behind those. Yeah. Anyhow,
Where I could see that playing into trailers and campaigns is in the media buys, the media strategy media buys. So agentic, as you call it, AI, where they're going they're taking the creative advertising, the deliverables, right? And they're determining, whether it's TVs, and TVs have kind of diminished in recent years, but digital spots, the social
yes,
spots. So I could see that definitely being the case where the AI agents are sort of talking to each other. Yeah, we'll place it
yes,
here, we'll place it there. I'm sort of dealing with that a little bit on the podcast side, because I'm
yeah,
realizing that there are folks that represent brands that have made big investments into the podcast space. But a lot of times, even if I get like CMO at such and such a brand, they're a couple steps removed from where they're showing up. But there are so that might scare a lot of folks because they're like, oh, AI is going to take my job. But here's the other thing is that there are companies that are the way I think of it in advertising terms is like be black and white in a color world and you'll really stand out. So there's super hands-on, super, human touch kind of strategists that are working for
yes,
certain brands. Um,
yes. And,
so
and
that's encouraging.
those were yes, and there was a lot of that too, because a lot of the young guys coming up, dev guys, developer guys, they were talking about because we went with another friend, and she was sitting beside us, and she literally turned to me. She said, "What are the humans going to do?" And you're just kind of like, That's a good question. You can't ask these questions. You can't raise your hand. It's not a Q&A with these people." But the younger guys were saying that human beings do what human beings do best, and that's where I think that in our world, it's like they have empathy, they have achievement, and they have process. So like there and to take it down to an everyday type of thing is, yeah, there are machines that can make the best cappuccino over and over and over again and never get tired. But you could go there once for the novelty, but then you're going to go to your local coffee shop to talk with the person, because that's what we do best. We interact with humans, and that's where I think our industry is. People want to go to the theater. Gen Alpha is going back to the theater, and
Yeah.
that's where we interact. And I think that's another bullish thing about, the trailer industry, is that even at the end of all that, it's still a human that buys the ticket. It doesn't it is you can the AIs can talk and then feed up trailers, and then, but it's the human that will buy the ticket. And the human likes to buy the ticket based off of another human giving it a recommendation, or that they meet up or something like that. So it was encouraging. It's it's AI is only pattern recognition.
Mm.
And with pattern recognition, you're going to get repeat things, and humans recognize, oh, that's pattern. Like if a I love Law and Order, but that at X amount of time there's going to be the break. At
Yeah.
X amount of time we're going to feel this, and then but you tune in because you're going for that. But there is a pattern, and humans recognize the pattern, and I think that's the beauty of the creatives in this business, is they switch it up all the time, and these men and women are so smart, and they're so knowledgeable with the music, and they know like how to get the emotion out of the watcher that makes them engaged to go buy the ticket or go rent the movie on their at home system. So
You
it's it.
you know you
Sorry.
know what's interesting is that there are some guys, and women in the industry, just some folks in the industry who've won awards year after year after year. But some of the stuff I was looking at for this year's, or some of the stuff I'm familiar with that was nominated this year, um, it's there are certain creatives that are so brilliant that they're reinventing themselves. They don't fall into patterns. So, like,
Yes.
Bill Neal came up at lunch today, with a fellow who just really respected his work, and one of his inspirations to get into the industry in the first place was
Genius.
Bill's
Yeah.
Texas Chainsaw piece from years ago. Got I think I was that Best in I forget if that was Best in Show. I know it won a Golden that year, but I forget it was
Yeah.
Best in Show that year.
Well, he got last year's. Yeah, didn't like, all the years like go
They
together
they
with me.
they
Yeah.
they but Bill, if you look at some of Bill's stuff that he's doing now, or Tommy Malatesta,
Yeah.
they don't like. Yes, it's great, and yes, there are certain genres, but like you can't. I'll look at something, I won't know it's a Bill Neal piece. I won't know it's a Tommy Malatesta piece. A Jen It
It's
piece, like
amazing.
there's just so many that I'm like, holy shit, like that.
See, and that's where I think that the machines won't catch up, because they are just pattern recognition. I like to think of it as Vimeo is always going to find your thumbnail at whatever 28 seconds in, and it's
Yeah,
never deviating off of that. And so it could give you a black screen, it could give you the green screen for the MPAA, but it's just going to give you what it knows at 28 seconds. It's never going to think outside of that, and the human does, and they're geniuses at doing that. And
yeah.
or they hear a piece of music, they're driving, they're whatever, and they bring it back. I love when I hear like a song from years ago and it comes back into a trailer. But that's that human recall for
Yeah.
and ingenuity. And that was what the other things that they were saying at this conference is the art. And these trailer editors, they are artists. And that is one of the things that sets the human being apart from whatever's coming at us right now.
So one of the reasons that we've been working together now for a couple of years since the show came back is because we share a passion, and that passion, it's something that you recognized when you started the show, is that these are art, just like you're saying, these are artists, these are people, these are creative, brilliant, and a lot of really, really wonderful people in this industry. And nobody knows who they are, right? So the reason that we started this program was to tell the story of the industry by telling the
Yes.
stories of the people who are the industry, right?
Yeah.
And you're awarding that, you're celebrating that. You've been doing it since the last century.
I know. It's so weird to say,
Yeah,
1999.
yeah.
But
So going
it
back then,
oh,
like, How did you? And now we mentioned it before. There's a lot of categories, but even back then, I think the first show had 19 categories.
I think it was there were some weird ones. So it's about 23, I think, because we had the Dark and Stormy Night, which we couldn't even figure out how to explain that one.
Yeah,
That one went away. But that's what it's ever evolving. So that's always and we always take like suggestions from the industry. They're like, hey, and here, just for example, so it was trailers.
yeah,
All and the other thing that people tend to forget is that so when the trailer was cut, it was a theatrical trailer because that's where they played. There was no broadband. There was no trailers playing everywhere else, but TV was where a TV spot would play. So with the advent of broadband in 2002-ish, or it coming into, the zeitgeist, then you could cut many more trailers for all the different types of genres and audiences and all that kind of stuff. But back in 1999, that was a trailer and it played in front of a theatrical audience. So there was those categories. But as TV spots, people are like, TV spots are very different from trailers, and then we also do trailers for streaming series. We keep different from trailers for feature films because they are also very different. There's a longer character arc. There's like your client will does not want you to give away what's happened in episode 3 in the trailer that drops. You're like there's a mid point trailer for some of these series, and so they're very different as well. So we added categories because the art form and people would bring it to our attention, like with video game trailers. I think we added that in 2006. They're like, we cut these like motion picture trailers, and we're like, yeah, you sure do. Like, so we had a category, and so as the industry evolves, and then with trailer bites, which are all the different social media type things, that is just like a whole world unto itself. And some agencies only cut those, and
yeah,
that's their specialty. And then it's good to niche yourself like that, because then you be known for that, and the people will be like, hey, can you do this for us? And like, hey, we don't do that, but this agency does do only that, and
yeah.
people have a comfort level with that. So
So the golden trailers are evolving as the industry evolves. Yeah, I remember when I think the first trailer company to get into trailers in a big way was Ant Farm when they absorbed when they merged with Lisa and Rob, a little company called Absinthe, and they kind of took it to the next level. And then from there, Buddha Jones and Aspect Ratio and all these
yeah.
lots of companies started developing their game divisions and kind of I don't want to say reinvented, but really took a theatrical level experience to games and
Yeah.
redefined that. But in recent
To
years, the last 5 or 10 years, to your point, like some really cool work is being done in 6 seconds or less for social, right?
Unbelievable, unbelievably talented. It's shocking, but also with the advent of the different types of or art forms, is the tech actually spurred a lot of that on. Because
Mm,
so 1999, you're looking at an Avid machine that's
yeah.
$100,000. It's at the six figures. I can't
Yeah,
remember.
it was 100,
I wasn't in the market.
150,000. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
So so once you started getting the advent of the PC, the desktop, those coming down in price, then you could have and you could cut on them, that they had the cards in their brains that you could cut on them. Then that would open up the door to more people entering the industry and more exposure to the equipment that you could cut really cool things on. So the
It's
tech
it's
in hand with the artist is a beautiful thing.
It's interesting because you mentioned, how the standard was Avid back in the late '90s, and it going into the early 2000s, and then when, it was initially Final Cut, now it's Premiere, that competes with Avid, but, the idea that you could build a bay for 10,000, 15,000 versus 100 to 150 really did change the industry,
Game
and
changer, 100%.
it's a
Yeah.
game changer. What are some of the other ways that you've seen the industry evolve, um for over the time that you've been doing the Goldens.
Well, I think one of the things I'm always fascinated with is the music, and
Mm.
we have a lot of great music sponsors for the show, Evolving Sound, Audio Machine, that the music being used in different ways, because what I think the industry knows inherently in itself is that recall on music is a very strong recall in our brains. We will sing the song. And when you sing the song, it allows you to remember what what you were. If you poll somebody after they've seen a bunch of trailers, and then you're like, "What about the one with I'm trying to think of a song. I don't want to name any of the current ones in competition, but a lot of them use great music. But they'll be able to recall the title of the movie because of the song.
Yeah.
And I think that is either somebody knows a lot about the human brain out there, or they research it, or they just know it inherently in their soul. It, and I am always shocked. I try to explain this to people outside of the industry is that the depth of knowledge
Yeah.
of music. And the thing is that editor musicians make great editors and vice versa. I would wonder if there was a competition, a band competition. We'll get Create to do it. They do Ping It On, so which is going to be June 5th. But we there should be a band competition. I know Benedict Coulter was in a band. That's how he got to LA. They're editors and musicians. It's hand in hand, which is funny because music is math too. And there's something there. Somebody should study the industry's brain power. It's quite impressive.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Benny came in as a rock and roll star, and Tommy Gargoto was a rock and roll playing, places on the Sunset Strip, and a lot of different bays that you walk into. You'll see a guitar there. Brett Wynn has beautiful guitars hanging on his wall, and he plays all
So
the time.
funny.
Steve Pollard, Doug Brandt. A lot of these folks are hardcore music, like real accomplished musicians.
In the
Um,
off season, we'll have a battle of the agency bands and see who comes out.
I bet you could do that. That would be a
Oh,
ton of fun, actually, just a
wouldn't it? It
jam
would be
band.
fun.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that would be
it really would be. And we have to be somewhere far away from the GTAs because I'd be like, oh,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
but it'd be
That's
so much fun.
yeah,
But again, it's music is math, editing. It's all connected in there.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So the other thing that's so impressive, is the hosts. Every year you get just these great hosts and they can like hold an evening for, the 2-3 hours of the show.
We
How
try
do you?
and keep it down to 90 minutes.
Yeah, yeah,
We
yeah.
really do. We know everybody is like so excited to see, colleagues, fellow colleagues, everyone's so excited. So, how do we get the hosts? We
Well,
oh,
how do you
it's
come up with who you want to invite in the first place? Like, I'd be
it's
interested.
a long list. It
Yeah.
goes a long list, and then you have to go through their agents or managers, whatever is the proper. But what's funny is so a friend of ours who I don't know that this is a friend of ours who books talent for the bigger award shows. She says, "We're a feeder system for their shows because they have to make sure that a host can carry an audience, a live audience, and these bigger shows won't hire somebody that hasn't proven themselves with a low hours." So I was like, we just found that out a couple like I don't even know, like a couple weeks ago from them. We know a lot of the people who run the bigger award shows as well. I just use bigger in air quotes because it's like I can't even say their names. Anyhow, but that was really encouraging, and we had reached out to a different host, and she's like, "Oh, I wish that they had done your show because then I could have hired them for insert name of the award show." And so it was really cool to hear that. How do we find them? Um, it's like who's up and coming. I'm gonna say it, and I'm not. Our audience, this audience, is the smartest, quickest, just people on the planet. If you lose them, they will be gone. You are like you have to keep so you have to go with a stand-up comedian. It has to be somebody who's funny on their feet. No, shade on stars, but actors are used to another take, another can I do that again? There is none of that on a live show. So you have to be able to go with the flow. So we do look to stand-up comics, and then also we love up and comers. It's so hard to get a break in any industry, their industry in particular. And so like we sometimes turn to lists, if you made the top 20 list for Hollywood Reporter, up and coming comics or stuff like that. But yeah, and we also do have talent bookers. Nicola Parrish does our talent booking, and she's been, she works with the big studios and stuff like that. So she's always keeping her eyes out for up and coming talent. And then Morgan J is just a gem, and we got to see him perform live. And we went to in Nashville, where I'm currently right now. Actually, I'm in Franklin, but the line was around 2 building blocks. Like,
Wow.
we're like, "What is happening?" So, again, with where the world is heading, we're all going to want to go to experience things with other people. So that's another thing. Live events will be a big thing. Sporting events will be a big thing once we into this agentic AI world. So it was exciting to go out and see him, and the people crave it. So we're excited about him being our host. It is a process, and it's not an easy process. And also talking to the do it again, big air quotes here. The bigger shows is they always have a hard time. Everybody has a difficult time booking hosts and stuff like that. And we are just super thankful that we 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 get these great hosts that can handle our audience. They are so smart,
Hmm.
so fast. So I just can't, it's like I do not envy their job to be up in front of them because they're they're quick. Everything's quick. So
Yeah.
anyhow,
Yeah.
so
So, and then another cool thing this year, have we ever been in the Beverly Hills Theater? The
the Saban, yes, we have, or Saban.
Saban, Saban?
Everybody
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
pronounces it differently. Funny enough, you were there. Oh man, before lockdowns, before COVID. And yeah, I think 2018,
Okay.
2017, and they were, building the subway. I think it just opened on May 7th, but they have been building it that long.
Wow.
And yeah, the traffic was terrible. There's already a problem with traffic in Los Angeles, but they had all the streets popped up, but nobody told us that this was, and then somebody from an agency called up and said, "We better tell them," 'cause we're on the other coast. "We better tell the girls that there's gonna be some traffic problems," and it was a nightmare, so we ended up, like, not going back, but, we're thankful to be back. The subway is now open. There shouldn't be any whatever traffic for construction traffic or what it was, but the funny thing is, so our dad, built tunnels. That's what he did. He subway tunnels for dams, and that's traveled all around the world to do that. It was a specialty, and his buddy was building that system. Like I literally see John Shay's name up across the sky. I was like, could we just call him and tell him to stop construction for the day? It would have made a difference. They just opened in May, so I don't know what was going on, but it was just like one of those weird coincidences in life. You're like, seriously, that's can anybody make a phone call? But yeah,
You know people. Come on, let's do this.
in the
Um,
tunneling world.
so the other thing that's really remarkable is I know you and Evie are just doing so much all throughout the year, but it's not just you. It's a lot of people. The
Yes.
sponsors are really important. Without the sponsors, this show doesn't happen. As well as your team. I've
No.
interacted with a lot of folks on your team, and they're terrific. So here's your
Wait,
here's your opportunity to give a shout out to your team and to the sponsors who make it happen. So let's hear it.
well, there's so many, it takes so many people to make the whole thing go, and we are truly lucky to, um, have been like it's like a snowball effect, and it happens to, um, each year we pick up a different family members, we like to call them, and, so, like, Brendan Emmer, who edits the show, he's the senior editor, he puts all the packets together, so he has to take all that beautiful work and put it into a smaller packet, which is a very hard thing to do because it's such great work. It's like, how
Yeah.
do you take out the Mona Lisa and cut it into something smaller? You really can't. So that's on his shoulders, and he handles it well. Um, and let's is it Mary Bodison and her husband Jeff? They come in and they're the show callers because there's a live component that is, the show caller. It's very stressful, but she handles it with aplomb and ease. And Tom Del came up with the logo way back in 1999, which we still use today. It was classic. There's like, think of so many people. We're really appreciative of the open water system that really makes the entry process very easy for everyone because that's what we want. We want people to enter with ease and get that done really quickly. I think that it had been kind of clunky over the years. So I'm just going to go look over here at the all the people, Ev, and let's see, all the people that are Brendan, Lucas, who cuts the pre-show together. Another difficult thing to do because who I could take to some scary times. In 1999, we wanted to run the full trailer all together, and that show would have lasted till 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
So that's why we cut them down to packets and let those run. But uh, uh, that was the producer way back. She's like, "You cannot do that. You can sit through that." So we do, that's how we started cutting them down to that. So we have Rebecca Eldridge, who's our sponsorship director. She reaches out to everybody in the industry, and because the sponsorship really does, um, keep the show alive. It's really, it's a lot of a labor of love too. So, um, oh, my Tanya Slater, who's our stage manager, is so funny. She literally flew her left. She's stage manager for like Taylor Swift, right? Not name dropping, but I'm just saying, like that's the caliber of show. She flies her from that show to our show to do the stage managing for the industry, and then goes back. She just loves the show. I'm like,
Oh, that's
these
great.
are the family members that, and then Sean Page, who does our stage design, which is so funny because there was one time, well, it's before we got Sean, there was a time in New York where I was like, "Oh, the stage needs to be overhauled." And one of the guys from Mojo, he even said it, he goes, "Looks like my senior prom." And I was like, "Oh, I'm mortified," but, the show goes on.
Yeah.
But, and Steve Elzer, our publicist, we love him because he gets the word of the industry into all the press that we get, and we love him for that because that's will do it. It's for the recognition, the notoriety, and the people out there wanna know who cut these things. They want to
Yeah.
know. So we appreciate all that. But it is a big crew, um, and it is a family, and so we do appreciate that. And then also all, uh, we do get Dobell is our official liquor sponsor, Dobell Tequila, and that's Will Osborne from, Proximo Spirits, and we appreciate the it is I think I told you guys the story the last time, but it was just one of the darn fun stories I experienced because it wasn't like I heard, I experienced it, is when we were at the theater, the theater there, I forget what year it was, I think it was GTA 11, right there on the main strip. It's a rock and roll theater, really, and I can't think of its name. Fonda. Is there a Fonda theater
In
in Los
LA?
Angeles?
Fonda.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
Henry
You're
Fonda?
you're stumping me now.
Anyhow,
Yeah.
well, it's a rock and roll theater, right? And so our liquor sponsor, you know, we had a liquor come in, and there were many, 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 many cases of vodka. And I looked at it, and I said, I think we're going to need more. And she's like, "No way. This is the lady who produces these events at, I think it's the Henry Fonda. Correct. Somebody will correct me if I'm wrong." Um, and I was like, "No, I think you should probably have some on backup." She's like, "No, we've had Guns N' Roses through here, and this is enough liquor." Sure enough, the night goes on. She finds me the next day, and she's like, "You were right." So I was like, "It's a night out. Make sure that people, have a cocktail in hand. They could, if they don't like it, they can put it down and go get another one. But it's free flowing." And but the look on her face, like that, the industry Guns N' Roses had nothing. Guns N' Roses crowd had nothing on the industry. It's a
Lightweights.
good time. Yeah, like exactly. Like it was so fun. So we're excited to have Dobell Tequila this year, and that's in the Proximo family. So that's the other like the Bushmills and Three Olives vodka and stuff like that. Audio Machine is back as one of our music sponsors, Evolving Sound, and Kraken Rum, and Q Factory. They're just great companies that have been with us for so many years. And we just really appreciate because it can't happen without the sponsors. So, yeah, it's like the show goes on. That's the LA expression, it's a Hollywood expression, but they just make they just make everything better. So we really appreciative of our sponsors.
That's awesome. Well, I appreciate them too, and appreciate the vodka flowing. You know? Um,
I do. I should have got a picture of that lady's face when she came at me. She's like, "Oh, you were right." That's good. Yeah.
so, um, if you could give just a couple more questions, and then we'll wrap it up because I
Sure.
know you're a busy girl. Um, so if you had any advice you could give to an aspiring trailer creative, what do you see as common threads that run through some of the most just brilliant pieces of creative advertising?
Well, I think as we touched on, music is um, very key, but it's also very expensive too. So you to be conscious of that. But if I were an aspiring person trying to get into the industry, I would look for independent filmmakers, cut my teeth helping them because they need help and everybody's trying to go up in their creative endeavors. So I would work with that, and then but also to get in touch with it's not to it's to get in touch with what moves you about the film that you're looking at. And I think that is what makes an audience member want to go see your movie is
Mm.
the human element that you put into it. Um, it's just yeah, and music, and then not to give away the ending. That's and people say that no, people don't do that, but people are always saying that out there in, the world. They're like, "Oh, I saw so much of it in the trailer." You're like, "Really? Did you? Because it's just 2 minutes, and it's getting less and less time." That is a pet peeve of mine when people say that to me. I was always like, "Yeah, okay." Like, conversation's over. That's like, we're moving on to another person that doesn't say that. I've only ran into a couple people like that over the years, but yeah.
Now,
And
I won't put you on the spot and ask what I ask a lot of other people, if you have a favorite campaign or piece of creative advertising from over the years, because it's kind of like me asking you if you have a favorite kid or yes.
well, over the years, yeah, I don't like to comment on anything that's currently out in the competition because that's just that we're weeks away. But over the years, oh man, um, I have unusual ones. Mine, and I've kind of noticed pattern recognition in them is a very kind of like encouraging trailers. Like as I love the Unbroken trailer. I love the
Mm,
Fury trailer. It's kind of like and those came to me in really tough times. It's funny that like I look to trailers as some people look to music for like encouragement. Like I can watch those trailers on a daily basis. And
mm,
I also really love the Greatest Showman trailer about where it's the song one. It's one song through the whole trailer take, and
yeah.
I could pull it up, and I should know the name. I feel really bad, but that is all about entrepreneurship and you know the GTA is it's an entrepreneurial adventure, and that trailer often gives me courage. I love that trailer. It's
Yeah.
all about you know it's sticking to it, keep going, all that. It is the Greatest Showman. That kind of makes sense now. It is a show. Just putting that together now. Yeah, and Social Network. That was one
Oh,
for.
yeah.
That's one for our. So in the big dream of things, there will be a trailer Hall of Fame, and that will be in there. I don't know which coast it's going to be on someday. It's just go in and watch trailers all day long, and
Dawn
but there's
Bailey
so
and I have
many.
been talking about that since actually I could tell you exactly when we started talking about it. We started talking about it in February of 2020.
Oh,
Um,
it's a thing. Wait.
Yeah,
Oh,
so we've
let's
been
do it.
no, seriously. Okay, so we're gonna circle back around about this because
Yeah.
the Alliance for Entertainment Advertising Arts is the nonprofit that we started, but the first meetings we had, well, we had a couple of conference calls about it in early 2020, um, and what it was, I was kind of sneaky about it because what I did was I invited the people who I thought would be the first inductees of the Hall of Fame. So like
Yes.
Barbara and Tommy and Dawn and like the people who,
Yeah.
would get into a Hall of Fame if there was one. One of them was actually David Samuth. And the first in-person meeting we
He's so
had
funny. Yeah.
was either the last week of February or the first week of March of 2020. David comes in with a mask and we're like, what the fuck are you doing? And
Yeah. Yeah.
he's like, no, this COVID thing is real. And next thing we know, like a week later, 2 weeks later is when things started shutting down.
Oh
Um,
gosh.
so the nonprofit, Dawn was really the one. Without Dawn, we never would have gotten our 501(c)(3). We still have
Yeah.
it, but we quickly shifted gears to where the alliance, what was supposed to have been the nonprofit for the behind the Hall of Fame, it just became a nonprofit that was handing out Trader Joe's cards to guys, people in the industry who lost their jobs, or
Uh,
other cases people
yeah.
were had lost their jobs but had an opportunity to do freelance, but they couldn't put an at-home thing together. So we kind of cobbled together pieces of furniture and used computers. We were just doing like
Wow.
unsexy stuff, but that people needed that year.
Beautiful. No,
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
beautiful.
But we still have the nonprofit. In fact, Dawn and I were just talking. She texted me yesterday that because guys like Tony Seiniger, um, would be in that inaugural class
Yeah.
of a Hall of Fame. So we got to put our heads together with you and Evie, and like let's do
Yeah,
this
I
thing.
love this. I know we're gonna have a fight about East Coast, West Coast. It's just gonna come down to it. Just kidding. I'm gonna put in for Rye, New York. You know I am going to do it because that's the birthplace right there. And I don't. Oh, I was about to say I don't. Rye, New York is super expensive in property value. I was like, it'd be a lot cheaper than LA and New York. Nope.
So we're going to have a whole contingency from the industry to be like, no, there's no other place in the world other than Indiana, or Craig Murray's going to be like, no, Michigan State. Come, what are you talking about? Because there's
We'll
like a whole
never get the
Ball
thing off the
State,
ground. Yeah.
yeah, because there's like a whole contingency from IU and Ball State, and there's a inside Indiana rivalry. So like, yeah, I was just talking
Gosh,
about that this afternoon. Um,
that's funny.
so, okay,
I
now you
love
get
it.
to turn the tape before we finish. You get to turn the tables on me and ask, do you have any questions for me?
I do have a
Oh,
question for you. How I mean, I'm sure it's been answered as how you got into the industry, why you love the industry, and all that kind of good stuff. So I'm sure you answered that. Pardon me, I'm gonna cough. Sorry. You're gonna want to take that out of it. Is I have a more of a future look. Where do you see the industry heading? And you can not answer it if you don't want to, but or you could cut it because it's your show. But where do you see the
you know what's
industry
funny?
heading and what keeps you up at night? Sorry.
So you're mean because I'm nice, and you're mean because I had
Mm.
that very question on my list, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that to Monica. I'm not going to ask her.
Oh, I'll tell you where I think it's going.
Oh,
But
okay, please, yeah,
well, no, I've had a lot to think about it. Like, I think about it often, all the time. Um, and I go to these conferences which deal with a whole other industry and where it's heading, and it's heading in those directions fast. Which is like the one in Miami last week, and uh, and then we see stuff all the time. You see like, oh, this AI is putting out all this footage and stuff like that, and then I stop and I think about it, and I'm very bullish on the industry. I see great things because who will become king in king and queen? Who will become the top is the storyteller, right? It's the person who can put together a story to entertain the person who wants to be entertained, right? And who but the trailer industry have had a decades long start about taking nonsensical footage about a topic they know nothing about. They haven't been handed a script, and then they've crafted a story together. So if AI is spitting out all this footage, who but this industry can do something with it in a short amount of time to turn it around? Because if you handed it to they'd be like, "Oh, what's the script? What is the story?" But this industry has had so many years of being handed stuff without a script, without any direction, and they're just like, and the thing might be 2 years away from being released, and they're like, "Yeah, put something together that sells the audience." And so that, I think, is, something to be proud of and something to look forward to, is that they are, prepared for what is coming, and which is gonna be an onslaught of footage, like, so much content. Who can tell a story out of that? And I think this is the industry for it. And I also think that there'll be the mechanics of, and it may be controversial, but it's like what we were saying before. It's like not every movie deserves Picasso to be the cutter of it. It's true. It's not. It's just like, you know. But there are the movies that still deserve the artiste to cut the trailer, and I think, and it will be an honor, and that will be what resonates with the people. But then there will be movies that are just like they'll and I was thinking about this the other day as I just stumbled on my word there, but there was a joke in the early days of Trailer-O-Matic. I think it was an ad somebody put in one of the key art
yeah.
program books, and it was like, "Oh, just put the movie in and a trailer comes out," and I was like, "How like forward thinking that was way back then, and you're like, oh, wait a minute, that came true, but or is going to come true. It's not come true yet. But what I'm saying is that somebody made the joke early 2000s, and we never thought we would be sitting here. But I think that I think that the human empathy wins out on the end to win the audience, and I think that that's why I'm bullish. It's like there's going to be just this crazy amount of content. I and the story will be king, and the trailer editor is perfectly positioned to make sense of what's coming at us. So, yeah, and
Yeah. So
that's you cut that so I don't sound so
no, no, no. You're good.
but
So I do think you're right. I do think that when you think about the job, Clive Bailey once said to me, for some reason I was describing what I thought the job of a trailer editor or art director for movie posters was, and it's to do such great work that the client wants to choose your poster and give you more work. He said, no, 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 no. Our job is to help our client sell the movie, and he really had a great, and he still has that great perspective. But it got me thinking that there are all kinds of titles, all kinds of, movies and TV shows being made. And there are going to be even more. So,
right.
y- you know, and but there is no bridge between that, however great it is. So let's say Hamnet, just a beautiful piece.
Mm,
That is art. That is just transcendent art. Um, th- and there's all kinds of movies and TV shows just like that.
mhm,
There has to be a bridge that reaches the audience, that lets the audience know, hey, here is this thing, right? So the future of the industry, there are going to be tools that continue to emerge that are going
mhm,
to continue to evolve the industry. And it's scary because there are people who are like, they're going to take my job. The AI is going to take my job. Yes, in a way it is, but it's not, because the AI is going to continue to evolve in such a way that it helps the industry in terms of productivity and efficiency, which allows the human beings who are brilliant and creative to do what they do best.
amen. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Agree 100%, and but when you're sitting there listening to, people talk about it, it's scary to the human being. You're like, "Oh, they're coming for what I do. They're coming for what am I gonna do? What is my" but I think with the future, the promise of the future and the taking of the not the directory work that we don't want to do, or the work that allows us frees us up to be creative. That's the future that we're kind of promised, but we get so caught up in how do I pay my mortgage? How do I pay my car bill? How do I
Yeah.
pay this? How do I pay that? But even like when they were talking, so back to what we were talking about at the beginning with the agentic AI and they're moving this money that dwarfs the humans, what the humans are moving, is I think that it's going to be like earning the money for us. We'll be like, here, AI, here's $100. Turn it into 1,000 by the end of the week so I can pay for all the tubes of toothpaste you ordered or whatever we're saying. But it's it's that will free up the person who said, wait a minute, I got into this business to, tell stories. And that's where my heart is, and that they'll get to do that. And I really think the industry is perfectly positioned to keep telling the stories in the times attention time span that we've started to get used to. I mean, I talk to people back and watch the 2-minute, 30-second trailer. You'd be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Yeah, it's like everything's getting so much more truncated that I
Yeah.
think they're just perfectly positioned for what this future is bringing. So
Yeah.
it's tools. It's to look at the tools. So and that was the other thing too with the one last point with the agentic AI speeches I had to listen through. But the one guy, he was so zen, and he was just like, he was a dev guy from Silicon Valley, and he's like, I wish I had his name. And he's like, oh, well, the robots are already on the assembly line, and he's like, and they're getting downloaded with all human thought into that the robot brain, and they're stronger than us, they're smarter than us. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, again with the jaw, I'm like, is everybody hearing this? Is it just me? Am I in a sci-fi movie now? But what he was saying is, but that robot that it is programmed to clean the house that you don't want to clean, and that's all it wants to do. It doesn't want to go advance any further than that. That's its job. And I'm like, but it's smarter, it's stronger. He's like, it did sound like as I said, the movie we've all seen many times before, and it doesn't end well for the human race. But he was like, it frees you up to go do the things that you were put on this earth to do. So I look at it as again, I've had a week to sit with it. So I look at it again as hopeful and bullish and not, and like you do, a tool to make our lives easier. None of us want to go out and, dig holes and, like old labor that was taken away. We don't want to go do that. It's hard. Like I use this example all the time because I plant trees in my yard and stuff. I can't dig a hole. I take the little pickaxe. I cannot do it. I take the thing. So when I see it in a movie that two people went out in the desert and dug a perfect grave, I was like, be it. That is impossible to do. But that's what the robots are going to come do for us. They're going to dig the holes to put the trees in. So it's an interesting future. Yeah, and we have to embrace it. Go swing in pendulums back and forth, and it will be scary, but we take the tools that help us be the people we're put here to be.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
that's it.
So your message is bowling leagues are coming back, and the invitation to the bowling league is going to be by fax, right? That's what it's going to be.
Oh my God.
That's
I love it. If you send me an invitation, I don't have fax. Like, I would love it. Sending out this and the bullying. But no, I mean, the leisure time, that's what the other thought I had sitting there. I was like, gosh, it sounds like we have a whole bunch of leisure time. But we don't let leisure time be leisure time. We have a problem, I could say, in this country of just being busy all the time. We should enjoy our families, enjoy the people around us, and stuff like that. So, I think we get. I mean, I can only speak for myself. I get caught up in the doing and not the human being part of it. So,
yeah.
that's a very California thing I just said. But like, you're a human being.
Of human beings.
Yeah.
So to be, or speaking of Hamnet,
Yeah, there you go.
okay, how can folks make sure that they find out all they need to know about the upcoming Golden Trailer Awards and also to
Yes.
stay in touch with the GTAs throughout the year?
They can sign up on our mailing list. There's a link on our site, and all the information's on the site. And here's the other thing: if anybody needs to get a hold of us, our emails and then our phone number have not changed in 26 years. So it's like it's easy to get a hold of us. So if you need something, I know it's tough times out there now. So if you need anything, just give us a holler and we'll
Yeah.
see what we can do.
And make sure
We like to help. Yeah.
make sure the complaints go to Evelyn.
Yeah. I'd take it. You take the good and the bad. You have
All
to
right.
take the good and the bad. So
Fair
yeah.
enough. Fair enough.
And we
We
just
did.
want people to come out and have fun. It's a fun night. See new friends, old friends, meet people. It's all about what we were talking about earlier with the being with people and in celebrating the artistry of movie and TV marketing. So we just want people to have fun. So
It's going to be a fun time.
yeah.
We did cover a lot from bowling leagues to AI and fax machines and mullets and everything in between.
God.
Anything important we haven't covered that you want to add before we say so long?
Oh gosh. Well, I think we have to do this more often because everything's changing so fast,
It is.
So,
Yeah.
and then we're all in it together, whatever's coming at us. So just help each other. Everybody help each other. I know it sounds like kumbaya and all, but I really mean it. Like, we're here a very short amount of time on this planet. Let's make the most of it. So,
Amen.
yeah.
I love it. I love it. All right. Well, I love hanging out with you. And I know you're, like I said, you're a busy girl. So I'm going to let you go. But thanks for making some time for us. And
Thank you so much for having me. You have
yeah.
your job make it all come together nicely. I'm sorry I tangent to tangent. So
No, you're
yeah.
good. I'm not doing any editing on this because I'm not an editor. No, but you were
Oh
perfect. You were
no.
perfect. Okay, but I'll see you. I'll see you in about a week and a half.
Sounds good. Awesome. All
All
right.
right. Thanks,
Take
Monica.
care.
All right. And
Bye.
thank you for listening. As always, rate us, review us wherever you get your podcasts. Really does help in the rankings. Follow us on all the socials. I'm easy to find too, at Corey S. Nathan, Corey S as a Sam, Nathan. And I'll see you at the Golden Trailers in about a week and a half. Really grateful to the Goldens, to Monica and Evie and the whole team for helping us keep the lights on and just being our friends. Thanks again for joining us. Now go do some inspired work.